the room to do so. It's going to be a perfect opportunity to meet, to network, and to learn. That's what we're here for. So let's just get everyone seated. It's like silence now. It's like we almost need to pray, but we won't do that. Good evening, everyone. My name is Baron Carr, and I am with the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce. Thank you. So I want to welcome everyone to Banking, Finance, and Cybersecurity. This is going to be an awesome evening of entertainment, an awesome evening of learning, an awesome evening of connecting. First, I want to express my gratitude to our partners, which is Chase Bank, on this endeavor. So let's give them a round of applause, please. I also want to honor our sponsors. We have Carver Bank, Small Business Administration, all right, New York City Department of Small Business Services, Harlem Community Development Corporation, and of course, Infrastructure Engineering. Thank you for all your commitment to the community, because here it is about the community. This branch that we're in, it has a lot of history. And some of the history that we've had, as you know, Harlem Week 50th anniversary is now. Now. And I do believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I know our relationship with Chase, I call it JP Morgan Chase. We've had a relationship for decades. Let's give a round of applause for that. So as we gather here at Chase Harlem Community Center, we're not just attending a workshop, we're part of something bigger. As I stated before, we are in our 50th anniversary, and tonight is about building that legacy. In the next few hours, we'll go through a panel discussion on access to capital. We'll also have an opportunity to learn about cybersecurity, protecting ourselves, especially in this age. These sessions are designed to give you practical, actionable insights. Beyond that is really about us in connecting. I've been taught by one of my mentors, it's about what we do in this room is what we're going to do out there. So remember that. We're here to build. So I'm not going to be up here all night. First, I want to introduce our Executive Director of Community and Business Development, Nicole King from JP Morgan Chase.
Hello, Harlem. Y'all a little too quiet for this to be Harlem. Happy Harlem Week. I am so delighted to be before you today. Today is a real special day. Y'all mind if I take a little seat and get comfortable? I've been on these heels all day. But as Baron said, my name is Nicole King, and I have the honor and privilege of being the Executive Director for Community Banking. But before that, I was JP Morgan Chase's first ever community manager. And I tell you this because 5 years ago, JP Morgan was really reimagining how we can support communities like Harlem. And I remember at the time, I was a business banker, and leaders in the firm would call on me for a lot of community insights. And they said, Nicole, who should we connect with in the community. We're thinking about this new branch model, and we want to just make sure that we don't just pop this branch up. We want to gather feedback from the community, and we want to do it right, right? So I was, thinking, going through my Rolodex, and I was like, the first stop is the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce. You gotta speak to Mr. Lloyd Williams.
Yes.
Let's give him a round of applause. So before I get into why tonight is so special, we're going to be celebrating, as I mentioned, the 5-year anniversary of this beautiful space. And what I'm so proud about is that everything started here in Harlem. We proved the model here in Harlem. Now it's a national program. It's a business for the bank. We've opened 17 community centers across the country. And have since hired 150 community managers. So there are folks across the country, LA, Chicago, Houston, everywhere, pretty much, doing this work to really work hard to close the racial wealth gap. So there's a few people in the audience on Chase Partners that I want to give a real shout out to, because they were early adopters. When I was alone on this journey, when I was one of one, I would call them for advice, insights, because there was no playbook, y'all. So what I did was I said, you know what, I'm gonna do what I know best. And what I know best, being from Harlem, is that we build community and we lift as we climb. So on this journey, Michelle Henry, want to give you a shout out. Miss Johnny Juices, want to give you a shout out? Say hi. Okay. And then, of course, Mr. Jeff Papa, who was my manager at the time. Let me see, I don't want to get in trouble for forgetting anybody. Of course, Joy Butts. And then when you walk into the Harlem Community Branch and you look, what is that, to your right, there's a Google emblem at the top because we have a partnership with Google. And I remember I was just talking to Brianna today, Brianna Current, who heads up PR for us here. And I was like, I remember when we decided to do the partnership with Google, and I met this amazing woman. I went down to the Google headquarters on 14th Street. She took me to the cafeteria, and there she goes, Ms. Sandra Garcia, who's still with me today. So thank you, my sister, for your partnership. Okay, so why are we here today? So you see this wall here, isn't it beautiful? Right? So it was created by a local artist, Miss Susan Spannon, who has transitioned. But that's the beautiful thing about art, is that, right, she lives on within the community center and her business is still operational. But what we call this is we call a reflection of our community. So up here, you'll see notable folks from the community. Sylvia Woods is up there. We have Miss Lottie Cox, who was the person that opened up her first, the savings account, opened up the first savings account at JP Morgan Chase. Just our history here. And we have not put a community member up there in 5 years. So today we're here to honor Mr. Lloyd Williams for his leadership, his partnership of JP Morgan for over the years. As you mentioned, Baron, the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce has been a partner to JP Morgan for decades. In fact, where's Winston? He always reminds me that there was no ATMs in Harlem, okay? And the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce helped JP Morgan Chase put an ATM on 135th Street. Remember that, Winston? Okay. So this relationship is long-standing. Lloyd, I call you my godfather. You gut check me all the time, and you call me after hours and say, you know what, I haven't heard from you. What's going on? We need breakfast. Get it on my calendar. But I just want to publicly acknowledge your leadership, your tireless commitment to Harlem, and just being a great leader and someone that has always been there for the JP Morgan community. So today we stand in honorship of you, and we stand in celebration of you. So let's give him another round of applause. And I would be remiss, as I am now the executive director for community banking. I had to pass the baton, right? And this work in Harlem has to keep going. And I've passed it to Ms. Rocky Chowdhury, and she's been doing an amazing job. And then, I know I'm going, but this is important. And here at Chase, we say we do this work together, and we can't do it without our One Chase partners. So I want to give a huge shout out to Kim, who's the branch manager, her and her team that really helps us with this work. And I just thank you all for being a part of this journey. Thank you for entrusting JP Morgan Chase and myself with really starting this brand new community model, which is now across the country. Be careful. I'm excited to you that much, right? Wait till you see the photos. It'll be really, really good. But I just thank everyone, and just know happy Harlem Week. And we are here to continuously be a bridge for the community, and just happy to be a part of your financial journeys. So with that, I am going to turn it over to my leader, all the way from Delaware, but here local in Harlem, Jason! Sorry, boys.
And listen, I will be brief. I also want to acknowledge Carolina, who's up front here with us, who leads community impact for the firm. And she's been a great ally and a great partner. And I know for a fact the president and CEO of the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce does not being put it on the spot like this. I know that. And also the co-founder of Harlem Week. However, this is an exception. I like history. Anybody like history?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. Anybody watch the Olympics?
Oh, yeah.
Recently, partially, some of it. I always like track and field.
Yes.
That's my sport. And I was watching a documentary on the history of the Olympics. And they were talking about 1936. In 1936, the Olympics were held in Nazi Germany. There's a big debate on whether or not to even have the Olympics, let alone hosted in Nazi Germany at the time. But they decided to let the Olympics go on, and they hosted it in Nazi Germany. And of course, the Germans wanted to use it as a propaganda tool. They wanted to promote this theory of Aryan supremacy. And so they allowed the Olympics to go on. The US decided to participate, and they sent their best athletes to Nazi Germany to compete. This is during a time of segregation, of course. So everything from how they trained to how they were transported from the US to Germany by boat was segregated. They didn't have the same privileges. They couldn't go on the same deck. They couldn't train in the same facilities. Now, they were supposed to go all the way to Germany, and they were supposed to lose. At least that's what the Germans thought. There's a guy named John Woodruff. John Woodruff, he was born in Pennsylvania. He grew up in Harlem. He was a boxer. And I saw he was a track and field athlete. Let me paint the picture for you. 6'3", lanky, tall stride. Maybe not that impressive to look on, but in distance running, he was the best of the best. He ran 800 meters that year in 1936. What happened was during the race, he actually got boxed in by two racers, and he did the unthinkable. If you're in track and field, you don't do this. He actually slowed down to regain his positioning and then sprinted past all of the other runners, and he claimed gold that year. Now, this was supposed to be the year in the Olympics where Nazi Germany promoted this theory of Aryan supremacy, but because of people like John Woodruff and Jesse Owens and a lot of other people that went and claimed gold, it busted the whole theory that blacks and people of color could not be dominant in their field. The reason why I like that story is because while John Woodruff has passed away, long passed away, we still have living legends among us. People that deserve to be honored for the work that they do in blowing up the myth that we can't go faster and farther than other people, even though we started behind. You guys feel what I'm saying? Yep. One of those people, I'm really, really proud and honored to say is a mentor, is a friend, he's like an older brother. And my only regret in 20 years at JP Morgan Chase is that I didn't meet this man sooner. And while I know he does not like being put on the spotlight, I'm going to ask Lloyd Williams just to join me up front. Because as Nicole said, we put this wall up for reasons like this. We put this wall up for tonight. And we've honored some people since this wall was put up, but nobody like the stature of the man that you see beside me here tonight. And so I just want to publicly acknowledge Lloyd for his leadership, for his determination, for showing us that, showing people in this community what is possible, showing people like me, young black men, what is possible. And tonight we just want to honor you, Lord, for your service and for everything that you have done in this community. We're going to be putting that up, and that will forever be in this branch to honor the service of one Lloyd Williams.
I'm not going to be long. The funny part about this is my team had one question. Is will Lloyd show up? And it's funny because they told me you're coming. Let me just say this. I do not like to be honored, and it is not because I'm a reluctant warrior. It is because we all deserve to be honored. We all deserve accolades. And sometimes it goes to one and it doesn't go to the other. So as you sit here or stand, I want you to understand who is the most important person in this room. It's easy. The most important person in the room is the person in front of you. It's the person behind you. It's the person next to you. God has a plan. It's beyond my comprehension. But I recognize, and I hope you do, that there's so many places we all could be tonight at this moment. Even Francis Brown is going to sit down. We could be so many places and so many options. So recognize that we're all here today at this moment. And it's important to meet who came in this space at the same time that you came in this space. Because that's the person who can help you, who can save you. We find each other at funerals and we find each other at weddings, and we didn't know that. I didn't know you were my mother's best friend, and I didn't know you were my cousin, and I didn't know you were my aunt, and I didn't know we grew up on the same block, and all of those things. What happens is we are projected to not speak to each other. We don't like each other. We don't know why we don't like each other. So let me give you a story, a real quick story. Imagine you live in an apartment building and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden you have a leak coming into your apartment. Okay? You got me? 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's the time you go upstairs to knock on the door of the person who's lived above you all these years who you've never met. Okay? You've never met that person. They may not be that anxious to open the door at 3 o'clock in the morning to a stranger. So let's find a way of communicating. And let me just close with this. What is Harlem? When we speak about Harlem, some of you know, like Lloyd Douglas, other people I've known for a while, God has blessed me. I had a tutor when I was in school, taught me English. Why did I need a tutor? I didn't know, but I know Grandma told me I had to go to the tutor. And whatever Grandma said, you did. So Mr. Hughes tutored me. And it was years later that I understood he was Langston Hughes. Some of you know, like Lucille McEwen, my Capricorn sister, that Malcolm X was my godfather. Well, what does that all mean? All I can tell you is what it means is we need to reach out to each other. I close on this. There is a group of young men standing on the corner. You're walking by and you say hello and they don't acknowledge you. A week later, you walk by and they're there and you say hello and someone might look up. And a week later, you walk by and you say hello and someone says, hey, how are you? And you walk by a week after that, and before you get there, someone says, hey, how are you? Why did they not say hello the first time? Because no one ever says hello to them. So you couldn't have been speaking to them because no one ever says hello. So all I'm saying to you is this. Carolina and I had a great dinner recently. My relationship with Chase is Manny Hanny, manufactures Hanover. My relationship is Chemical. My relationship is JP Morgan Chase. My relationship is Chase. All I'm saying to you is we gotta love each other. We gotta love each other, and the most important thing is to listen to each other. You don't have to agree with what that person said, but there's value in what they're saying. They may be seeing it from a different perspective, that you are not looking at it from their perspective. What was their experience? Where did they grow up? Why do they see it like that? And so I close by thanking you for recognizing me, but I am surrounded by some of the most brilliant people on the face of this earth. And at 136th Street, off of Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard, I sit in a conference room and the brilliance of these people is incredible. So thank you for your recognition. Thank you for your time. Please make sure that you do this. When you walk out the door, you need to commit to me that you will have introduced yourself to two persons that you didn't know when you walked in the door. And if you do that, that's what Harlem Week is about. Because Harlem Week is not a community in Manhattan. Harlem is a state of mind. I just got through speaking to one of your distinguished leaders who has told me she's getting ready to go in the next week to Harlem. Well, where's she going? To Trinidad and Tobago. That's Harlem. Bristol, England, Harlem. Kingston, Jamaica, Harlem. New Orleans, South Side, Chicago, Roxbury, Massachusetts, Cicero, Illinois, a Harlem state of mind. And thank you for being with us today in Harlem.
It's me. Thank you so much. What an honor and pleasure to have been able to present Mr. Lord Williams with his portrait, being honored on our Wall of Fame, as we like to call it here in our Harlem Community Center. Good evening, everybody. My name is Rocky Chaudhry, and I have the honor and pleasure of taking over those huge shoes that Nicole had left for me as the first community manager. I have the honor and pleasure of taking over her amazing place as now the community manager here in Harlem. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight and for starting us off with honoring Mr. Lord Williams. She already took away my speech that I had ready for you, Sandra, but you're an amazing partner. You were an integral piece for creating this location 5 years ago, and thank you so much for always showing up for our community, even as a consultant, but also with your own business with Encounter Your Potential. So thank you so much. I'm gonna hand it off to our amazing Google consultant, Sandra Garcia, for our great presentation on cybersecurity. Thank you so much, everybody.
Tess, I just wanted to let you know, it's not a few hours, it's 2 hours that we'll be here. I just wanted to tell you. What I learned from my mentor, Lloyd Williams, be specific, it's language. So I got corrected, and I'm here to correct. So take heed, everyone. Correct. If someone gives you something, you take it. Thank you. Sandra?
All right, so I see Rocky is getting the presentation up. So good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All right, Rocky, we all see your email. Okay.
Nothing to hide.
Nothing to hide. All right, and then I'll have a laptop here just so that I can see what's happening back there. And are you gonna give me a clicker?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, got it. All right, so while I get my clicker, let's see, how does left and right? Okay, there we go. Okay, it works. Who is a cybersecurity expert? Hands. No hands. Who knows a little something about cybersecurity? Okay, we have shy hands. All right, by the end of my time up here, we'll have confident hands, okay? Okay, so I got a few thumbs up. And the reason why is because cybersecurity impacts absolutely everybody. And I'm gonna share with you some examples of how. Also, I am by no means a cybersecurity expert, but I will tell you why I'm up here. So we are in Harlem. I still use this photo as my profile picture when I make my introductions for Grow with Google.
So who am I? I am your Grow with Google New York digital coach. Nicole has shared a little bit about me. Rocky has also shared a little bit about me. It was amazing to be a part of the launching team here, representing Google's relationship with JP Morgan Chase. I was the Grow with Google side of that relationship. But before that, I am the founder and owner of Encounter Your Potential Always First. And Google is a partner. So I run an intersectional marketing and leadership consulting firm, and Google is a partner. I started out in the Harlem community. During the pandemic, increased my territory to New York City, and now for Google cover all of New York State. So, okay, thank you, Nicole. I cheer for her, she cheers for me. So as she grew with Chase, I try to grow over here with the Google side as well. So I'm here for you, providing digital skills learning workshops and experiences on behalf of Google. And today we're going to talk about cybersecurity. Now, it impacts absolutely everybody. I know it says for your small business, but regardless, whether you're a small business owner, I say small but mighty, business owner or not, it impacts absolutely everyone. Also, I have a dad who is in his mid 80s, and some of our communities are a lot more vulnerable than others because he's constantly getting phone calls about his social security and many other things. And he isn't always able to decipher what's real and what's not. So we say, just don't answer the phone. If mommy's not home, don't answer the phone. But that's not a real solution, right? And so some of you might be familiar with an email like this. Who gets emails being offered a ridiculous amount of money? Wow, you were gifted 1.5 million US dollars. Has anyone received an email like this? Right. Or there is an international business owner who wants you to be the US representative of their business, right? Yes, you've gotten that one too. They come in so many different forms. This person trusts you with $10.5 million to do all kinds of things, right? Represent them somewhere. Do something. But it's also not just email, it's text messages. And I know that I get text messages from USPS. Before I was a driver, I was getting emails about my car insurance, warranty, all kinds of things, right? I was also getting emails about Social Security and text messages. But they also use things that we often use, like a Netflix account. And sometimes it's hard to figure out whether this is real or this is not. Usually if you're getting a message like this via text, it's not. Just don't click it, because clicking it opens up the gateways, opens up the window, cracks the door, and lets these people into your device, which holds lots of information. Sometimes they're not so nice. They threaten us. This person demands a Bitcoin ransom. So there's so many different examples, and this is why whether you're a small business owner or not, I'm actually gonna lose track, I can't manage two devices at one time, so I won't use that. So whether you're a small business owner or not, it's important. Because how many people here have a phone? Not shy hands anymore, okay, we have confident hands, okay. Some of us have not just phones, laptops, computers, tablets, you have smart devices in your home, we're just connected. And all of these are vulnerabilities. So yes, if you're a small business owner, it matters because many of us are also responsible for protecting the information of our customers. We're gonna talk about that, but it matters just because you're human and you're people. And so here's a stat for all of us. 85% of small business leaders say having a cybersecurity plan in place would make them feel more comfortable using digital tools. How many people here have a cybersecurity plan for your business if you're a business owner? I'm gonna start asking y'all some questions. What's on that plan? Don't answer yet. I'll ask in a few. But 2 people raised their hands. There's so many more people here. And so we all need to have a plan should there be an attack. on our businesses, especially if people are transacting on your websites, for example, because that means you're collecting credit card information. So it may not be somebody being attacked, but you may be opening up the gateways for an attack. So it's actually important for all of us. So let's start with how to protect yourself online. So think of yourself and think of cybersecurity as a whole. And you must know that a hacker somewhere is not thinking about, what's your name over here in the front?
Oh, Michael.
Michael. Someone is not somewhere thinking about Michael and Michael's business. Today's not a good day to attack Michael. What someone is doing, what these folks are doing, are sending out code to many people. And as this code is sent out, they're looking for vulnerabilities. So think about it as a house. Is there a window that is open, that can be opened further? Is it an entry point? Is there a door, a back door that hasn't been locked, or a door that isn't protected? Is there a crack somewhere? So think about it like a home. So think of your business and all the things and all the ways that someone can access your business as a vulnerability. So we're going to talk about some of these. So first, let's start with protecting passwords and identity. A lot of this is going to seem so simple, but there are going to be strong reminders for all of us of things that we need to do and actions that we need to take immediately. So I'm giving you all homework as well. So make passwords difficult to guess. Now, I have a personal story. I am criminal for this. Once upon a time, not anymore because I'm savvier, I used to have a similar password for almost everything. So it would be something like happiness 2020. And then in 2021, it would be happiness 2021 because I was trying to speak happiness into the universe. So that was an easy password for me to remember. Sometimes I would add a symbol of some sort, to make it a little difficult. That's not the appropriate way of doing it. So what you want to do is have passwords that are different and difficult to guess. We all watch the movies where someone is trying to get into someone's account and they're able to guess the password because it's their child's birthday or a favorite place visited. Yeah, we don't want to be that person in that movie where someone is able to get into your information. So keep passwords difficult to guess, keep passwords private, and do not share them. How many of you have a book somewhere, just like we used to keep telephone books with passwords in them? Like what account this is, here's the username and the password. Okay, yes. Okay. Vulnerability, yes. Okay. There's strength in vulnerability. You're not the only person. Okay, maybe not a book, but maybe you keep a document on your computer with usernames and passwords. I see some folks shaking their heads. All right, these are not great methods of housing passwords and protecting your passwords. Because if somebody happens to get their hands on that book, they know exactly which account to go to, what username to use, and what password to use, and now they have access. Or if they get access to your device and they find that note doc in your phone or that document saved in that folder that says passwords, they have access to all your passwords. So as of today, we won't do that. We'll share with you something else that you can do. Ideally, you want to use a different password for each account. A solution that Google has, which is free. I love free because running a business is expensive. Everything costs money. To pay myself, it costs money because I need a payroll system. So I love it when things are free. So there is Google Password Manager, which is free and can help you create custom passwords that autofills and allows you and helps you to log in to your accounts. So you can learn a lot more about Password Manager by visiting passwords.google.com. Now, Google is not the only company with this kind of tool. So you can do a Google search or a search in general for password managers, but the recommendation is to not house your passwords somewhere that other people can access. So this is saved on the cloud for you. All right, some of you are probably noticing that a lot of the devices you use and a lot of the accounts that you also have are requiring two-step verification. I know it's written up here, but what is two-step verification? Anybody want to tell us in your own words? Yes. What's your name, sir?
Solomon Gray.
Solomon Gray?
Green.
Green. Oh, we have the same last name. My married last name is Green. I need to update that slide. Okay, Solomon, would you like the mic? I can come over. All right, so what is two-step verification? I know it's on the screen.
Two-step verification is when you have a way.
Oh, the speaker. Okay, I'll be over here.
Two-step verification is when you have a way to that you have second verification that comes from the person or device itself. So it's not from the machine. So you just put in the password, you still have to go to the second step. And some type of other verification.
There we go. That's exactly what it is. It's a second form of verification. So usually your first form of verification is whatever that account is that you're getting into. The second form of verification is a physical way to verify that it is you, that it is a human. So that physical form can be a code is sent to your phone because you have to be a person with that device that is going to receive that code that now must enter that code. So if someone in, I don't know, Spain, somewhere is trying to log in, they won't have access to that phone with the code to be able to get into the account. So that's two-step verification. Or it could be a device. Sometimes the option is send a code to your email because you have to access the email account and then be able to enter that code. Or who has a security key. You can also have, for my Google laptop, for me to access my Google laptop, I walk around with a security key, which I need to plug into my device and then enter my fingerprint. It's serious. It's serious. So, but that's also an option because we are running small but mighty businesses as well. And if you are keeping customer data on your devices, you might want to consider a security key also. You can also download a security verification device on your phone as well. Whenever I'm accessing accounts like sam.gov, something like that for my business, I'm asked to verify my identity. So I add that two-step verification to all of my accounts that I want to keep hyper secure. So this is an example of what a security key can look like. And you can buy them. They're about $30. You can go to Amazon and get one delivered, and it is you. So you can also make sure that you have a fingerprint in order to access your laptop as well. It doesn't just have to be the Googles of the world. All right, so tips for Google Workspace security. Who here has a Gmail? Okay, most of us. We're practicing our confident hands. Okay, so whether you have a Gmail or you have a workspace account where you, for your business, you have a paid Google email, you have the option to turn on two-step verification. It is available to you, so you might want to consider using it. All right, so other things you can do. Limit who can see newly created files. One of the things a lot of us is doing, I do this myself as well because I'm constantly on the go. I am sharing documents with my team. That is one of the things I love about using Google's products. If I am working on a presentation, a document of some sort, a spreadsheet, I'm on my way to a client site. Earlier today, I was running to Yankee Stadium because I tabled for my company for District 9. I can have a team member continue to work on whatever it is that we were working on earlier that day because we're sharing the document. I get to my location, I can open up the same document on my phone, and I can see if they completed what they were working on. I love that. But you may want to consider limiting who all can see your files. So one of the settings that I have for my Google Workspace is that only those who share the same email
can view and access files. So only if you work for Encounter Your Potential can you access our docs. So you also have the ability to restrict who can see your files as well. But you can also share files. You can share files that can be viewed, edited, etc. if you're familiar with working in Google Workspace. One thing that I'm also able to see is if somebody shares a document with someone else outside of the company. I used to do it often. I'm a corporate dropout. I would share files with my personal account, with my Gmail. So say someone who works on my team happens to send a document to their Gmail or Yahoo or personal account, so maybe they can work on it a little later from a different device, I'm alerted. Because that's also another way that you want to protect your business. Because once they're accessing that file from a different device, whatever that device is maybe open to can then be sent right back to your business once you open up the document from your own devices. All right, same thing for calendar sharing. And also as the administrator, you should have the ability to recover information on anyone's account. How and where does that make sense? As folks leave or come to my company, especially as they're exiting the company, because we also want our people to grow, I want to be able to access whatever it is that they were working on previously so things just don't get lost. All right, so this is an example of how you can share files with other folks as viewers, commenters, or editors. But you also have the ability to just share files with those within your organization. But this is also another way that you can make sure that you are in control. All right, protecting your equipment, your apps, and your data. So, if anyone has ever been part of an organization, a company like JP Morgan Chase, we know that there's a lot of security. For your laptop, you're encouraged to have a password in order to get into the device. For our own personal devices that we're using for ourselves and our businesses, we should do the same. So even for your phones, passwords are not just so your kids or your significant other or your parents can't get into your device, but just so that you protect yourself as well, because a lot of us are saving our passwords in kind of like a note section or a doc also, but just as an extra layer of security. So make sure not to leave your computers unattended. You saw me on the corner. I was preparing to come up here. So I am hyper conscious and aware that wherever my device is, I know where it is. I've also been the person to travel to Italy and accidentally leave my 2 laptops at TSA. Don't do that, don't be me. Now I have an Apple AirTag inside of my laptop bag, so that never happens again. So don't leave computers unattended. Use a lock screen as soon, maybe after 30 seconds, 60 seconds of you not using the device, not touching the mouse pad, it locks. Enable the services or apps that people that people need to do their jobs. I was purchasing a laptop for a new employee. The laptop they chose had a ridiculous amount of storage. And I'm like, not even my device has that amount of storage. Why do you need that amount of storage? So also look into storage for devices. The more storage there is, the more opportunity there is to store things. On your devices, when was the last time you cleaned out the apps that you don't use? Are you using all the apps on your phone? Nope. So if there is an app on your phone that you have not used in a very long time, it's time to delete it off your phone. Because outdated apps are also a vulnerability, because that means you're not updating the software or updating the tool. Another thing is USBs. If someone ever gives you an external USB, maybe to save a file or to share a file, nowadays you actually don't really need to do that anymore, but that's also introducing a foreign device into your own device, so stay away from doing that. Another password that I didn't mention should also be strong and hard to guess is your Wi-Fi password, especially at home, because that is the password that most of your personal devices are connected to. So make sure that is also hard to guess. So after Xfinity, Spectrum, whoever your provider is gives you the password, change it and make it something hard to get so your neighbors can't get into it. All right, so let me move along. A few extra tips. I already talked about keeping your software up to date. Do inventory. Do an inventory check of the apps and the things that you have on your phone and your laptops and your tablets. If you have not used an app in a very long time, you don't need it anymore. So get rid of it. Avoid software that doesn't offer security options, and also establish policies limiting data stored on company and personal devices. Those of us who have children, I was here last year, fully pregnant, by the way. Now I have an 8-month-old. He just turned 8 months on Sunday. Those of us who have children, these are things that we also want to be mindful of, especially as they begin to interact with other people online as well, using their own devices. One thing you should know is that using Google, there is a built-in layer of security in all of the things that you use, from Workspace to also if you happen to have a website that uses Google, you can trust that there is a layer of security there. You're not asked to pay for it. It is just built in with your use of Google. So that is something that Google wants for people to know. Okay, protecting your customers. This is one of my favorite things to share with folks because we're all using the internet. How I'm going to summarize this is when you visit a website, especially if you're a shopper like me, before you enter your card information, make sure there is an S after that HTTP. Make sure there's an S. That S stands for secure. That's it. That's all you need to remember. That's a big one. So, you can copy and paste the URL and there's this long trail of letters that you're like, why do I need all of this? You really want to pay attention to that secure. So before the www, it should be HTTP and S. That means it's secure. Most importantly, for the business owners here, make sure your website is secure, because now I'm giving you advice as a consumer that you want to take as a business owner. And you will know that by working with your web designer, developer. You can also, if you're using a customer management tool like Wix or Square, make sure that your site is secure. All right. So there was a little exercise here to guess which email was a vulnerable email. What you need to know is most of the time they're using a form of a real email. So here there is a fake email. Who wants to say whether it's the one on the left or the right, which is the fake one? I know you're gonna have to look a little close. All right, so this is your right. You're right. Mm-hmm. Okay, tell me why.
Underneath where it says two-step verification on the left, there's a picture of a person.
Mm-hmm.
There's no picture of a person on this one.
Yep.
Oh, I know these things because I had to change my ATM card 5 times.
5
And
times.
the last person that scammed me, they forwarded my Gmail to their email, and I went and got my laptop scrubbed. And as they're putting things back on, a message comes on saying, do you still want Joe Blow at to still get your emails? And I hadn't had an email in 2 weeks, which means he knew everything about me. He knew when I was subbing a class, when I got paid.
Because he had access to your calendar.
And I didn't know it.
Yes. You are correct. It's not a person. It's the one to your right because you don't see a picture there. If it's not a picture, it's usually your initial, your first initial, if you're using a Google account. Also, look out for suspicious emails. This person is unknown sender at example. It could be Google, Yahoo, whomever.com. So look out for things like that as well. Also, professional emails are not going to be netflix@gmail.com, right? It will be michael@netflix.com. So be wary of someone asking you for a back payment of some sort and they're emailing you from a Gmail. It's not a person.
So you were right. Also, I give this advice to a lot of business owners as well, is you want to make sure you purchase your domain because it increases your legitimacy. And as cyber attacks are on a rise, you want to make sure that people can tell that you're real. So own your business domain and make sure that you are sending out communication from your name at yourbusinessname.com. And if you can, I give this advice too from a personal branding perspective. While you're there, making sure you buy your business domain, buy your firstandlastname.com as well. So that's something that I did for my son, because you would hate to go to the internet and Google yourself, and someone else with your first and last name has a beautiful website with their photo and accomplishments all over it, and it's not you. So do that as well. All right, so create a plan, have clear policies, and provide training. I just talked about quite a few things, but policies and trainings about cybersecurity are not just for big companies. We can all have policies. I've just shared with all of you a few things that you can do. All right, so if you're attacked, I'm gonna summarize this as well. One place that you can go, your credit report is not just to see how you're doing from a financial perspective and what your spending personality is, but also to see if there is something out there, an account of some sort that's not actually yours. So also use that, your credit report, you should be checking it to see if there's any activity that doesn't belong to you. Dispute any fraudulent charges. And then also consider placing a fraud alert on account or freezing your credit, because usually that's what they're after, right? So folks are trying to get to you in order to get to your finances, not your actual business. They don't want to run the business for you. They want to take your money. Okay, and then also take a photo of this slide here, file a police report. Next, file a report with the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. IC3 is the central hub for reporting cyber crime, so make sure you take a note of this. And then lastly, report fraud, scams, and bad business practices at www.reportfraud. Because usually, if you get a suspicious email of some sort, or someone is calling you from a certain number, I'm very hesitant to pick up the phone. I just Google the phone number. And sometimes you can get a result that says, oh, scams coming from this phone number. So that's something you can do as well, if you don't feel comfortable. All right, are we all walking away with at least one thing that we can do to protect ourselves? Yes. Confident hand. You were excited to raise your hand. I love it. Yes.
Could you go more in depth of how to buy your own name first?
Yes.
Your name said buy your first and last name.
Yes. Go to GoDaddy.com and you enter your first and last name. If it's available, buy it. What's your first and last name?
Jaden Lola.
Jaden.
Lola.
Lola. Okay, so your last name is a little bit unique, so it may be available and it may be just $11 for the year to purchase it. So do that. And then as you grow in your career, in your business journey, the things that you add on a LinkedIn, you can add that on your personal site plus more. Mm-hmm.
So it's every year you have to purchase it, because you mentioned.
No, you purchase it, it's yours, but you have to continue to pay for the domain with whatever the, say it's GoDaddy, then you just pay GoDaddy to renew it. So it's just like if you buy a business domain, to keep it, you have to continue to pay for it. If not, it becomes available to the internet and someone else can purchase it. Mm-hmm. All right, I think that is all. Question? I'm good? Okay.
Go back one.
Go back one. Take a photo. Yes. I see another.
You mentioned a domain name, and you also mentioned a website.
Mm-hmm.
So which for the
Speak louder, please.
you mentioned a domain name, and you also mentioned purchasing a website. Which one is more important? I know that the domain is more important. You have to have a website for your first and last name.
Good question. Okay, so it's a two-part. First, you purchase the domain, do that. That's the most important thing because you want to own it. And then when you are ready, yes, you can develop a portfolio site, but you don't need to. If you purchase the domain, don't yet have a reason for a website, redirect it to your LinkedIn, for example. So if someone searches for your name, they land on your LinkedIn. Or if you have a Google business profile or something like that, send them there. Send the internet traffic that way. Most importantly, just own it. Okay, I think we're done. Thank you, Rocky. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, thank you. Can we give another round of applause, please? One of my favorite parts.
Favorite part.
One of my favorite parts. Thank you so much, Sandra. That was amazing. Hopefully you guys got some really good takeaways from that, right?
Yes.
I saw a lot of people taking a lot of pictures. The phones were out. So I'm gonna need you to keep the energy going because we have an amazing panel coming up right now. I'm gonna be moderating the panel today, so I'm really excited to be doing that because I haven't done that in a long time. So thank you so much for staying through for our amazing panel. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring our panelists up. And when you come up, just hit me with your 30-second pitch. I can totally hype you up, and I definitely want to hype you up, but who better to hype yourself up than yourself, right? All right. So without further ado, one of my amazing partners who I feel like we only ever see each other during Harlem Week, and I feel like we need to change that up. Mr. Lloyd Dolman from Carver Bay. There you go. And then just 30-second pitch.
Yes, really quickly. So Lloyd Delman, I am the executive director at Carver Community Development Corporation. I've been at Carver for about 3 years, but I've been working in community development for about 12 years. In my capacity, I'm responsible for launching and managing our microloan program, which has been created to provide access to capital for small businesses. And I'm also responsible for our financial literacy and education programs, community engagement and outreach, and anything else they throw at me. So I'll leave it there.
Awesome, thank you so much. Have a seat. And my amazing partner in crime, as I like to call it, my amazing partner in the work that we do through our racial equity commitment. And I always like to say, she does what I do, but on the business side, Miss Joy Butts.
All right, so good evening, everyone. Joy Butts. I'm a vice president and senior business consultant for JP Morgan Chase. And just like Rocky said, I have the opportunity and pleasure to help businesses, facilitating workshops, things like that. But the beauty is when we get an opportunity to really work one-on-one with our business owners, because everyone can probably attest that we're all in a different place at a different time and a different season. So being able to work one-on-one with us as coaches allows us to curate a curriculum specific to where you are and where you're looking to go. And the nice thing about it is it's already paid for by JP Morgan Chase. So there's no cost to it. So hopefully we get an opportunity to connect one of these days.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joy. And another resource in our city, we have this amazing Sherry Lane.
Good evening, everyone. It's really loud. I'm Sherry Lane. I'm from the New York City Department of Small Business Services, SBS. I'll refer to it throughout the panel. SBS is a city agency that's devoted to building small businesses in the city. So we'll talk about more of the programs that we oversee later in the panel, but happy to be here with you tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the applause. And without further ado, we have an amazing business partner that can definitely speak to his experience, Mr. Michael Sutton. Woo! There you go. Yeah, you're good.
Hello.
There we go.
There it goes. There it goes. My name is Michael Sutton. Obviously, I'm the CEO of Infrastructure Engineering. Been in business for 27 years, and as I was informing someone, out of 27 years, we only had 2 years that was unprofitable. We grew from 2 employees to approaching 200 employees today. We operate in about 8 cities and 6 states, and life is good.
Thank you so much. Give us a round of applause before we get started. Oh, thank you so much. All right, we're gonna dive right into it because I don't want to keep everybody too late. And I'm sorry, it is a little bit loud because guess what? We're live streaming. Yes, so that's where we're a little bit loud, because we want our amazing live streamers to be able to hear us loud and clear, because we have an amazing global footprint when it comes to Harlem Week events. It's not just the US that gets to see us, we're around globally. How far have we reached out? Who knows on my chamber team?
Like 6 billion worldwide impressions.
Wow, 6 billion worldwide. That's a strong round of applause. So like we heard from Mr. Williams earlier, it's the Harlems of the world you're definitely hearing from us today. Yeah, so thank you so much. All right, so let's take a dive into it. So my first question is for Sherry, all right? So can you outline the primary programs and resources that your department offers to help small businesses here in New York City?
Thank you. Great question. I promised I wouldn't leave my introduction too long because that was coming. The hardest part about this question is there are so many free services. So I'm going to start with a shortcut, and it's a website. It's nyc.gov/business. Very easy to remember. nyc.gov/business. Everything I'm about to say is there. The other trick I will mention is we have a business solution center right down the street on 125th Street, and that is the physical entryway to all of our services. So you don't have to remember anything else I say tonight, just those two things. But through those two paths, you can access all of our free services. We have access to capital. I'm going to talk about that a lot tonight. We have access to free legal services. We have access to help recruit employees for your business. We have access to commercial leasing services with pro bono lawyers. We have a program dedicated to women entrepreneurs, which my colleague Kina here oversees, for women, creating community, creating educational opportunities. Another program Kina oversees, our Fast Track Entrepreneurship Program, essentially a mini MBA. All of this is free, and the point is really to help entrepreneurs start, grow, and keep their businesses alive and thriving in the city.
Thank you so much, Erin. Can you tell us where on 125th Street? Because one thing I took away from another workshop that we had was, as business owners, we want to be present. You want to be seen. I can't emphasize how important that is. You can have a business, but nobody's going to know about that business unless you're out on these streets. All right? So please, I can't emphasize that enough. So please, where on 125th Street?
Yeah, just a couple blocks down to the west. 215. Thank you for the exact.
215. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right, and this question is for Joy. As a major financial institution, what trends have you observed in small business lending over the past few years, and how have we as Chase adapted it to approach and meet these changing needs?
Awesome, I love that question. So I'm not gonna be too long-winded, but what's interesting about capital, and Lloyd actually touched a little bit on it, but what's interesting about it is that you need money to make things happen. Everyone agrees to that, right?
Yes.
There's no money, you ain't gonna make it happen, right? So as the economy shifts and changes and needs shift and change, those that have the money are the ones that really are the change makers within all of that. And so what I've noticed is that just some trends is providing access to people that might not have typically been those change makers to become those change makers by giving them access to capital. And the thing that a lot of times people don't understand or don't think about, and I also didn't think about this either until I was sort of entrenched in the work, is the importance of the intellectual capital piece surrounding that. We always talk about the financial capital, give me the money, right? And you need the money, but the intellectual capital is really where it all starts. It's understanding the ins and outs about your personal finance and how it actually pertains or affects your business financing. It's understanding the ins and outs of your cash flow, right? So once you get the money, do you really know how to actually use that? So one of the things that I've seen is there's a lot more education being poured into communities and resources, and not only the traditional ways through the government, but institutions like a JP Morgan Chase and many others are really coming outside into the community and saying, hey, we're here to educate you on some things that maybe we've taken for granted, or it's just in our context, we just know these things, so now we need to educate. The second piece to that is really providing opportunity for the access to the capital, the financial capital, once you have the intellectual, and making it a little bit more readily available. And so you have programs like community development financial institutions. Now, they've been around for quite some time, right? But the funding that they receive comes from organizations like a JP Morgan Chase and many other corporations that say, hey, you know what, there's a responsibility that we have to fund these. And you probably are thinking, okay, well, why don't you just lend the capital directly from your bank, right? Which is something that we definitely do. However, every lender and every person that is going to give you some money has different criteria. Let's say I went to one of you and I asked for a $50,000 loan, right? I might ask you. So if I ask you for a $50,000 loan, I guarantee each and every one of you has different criteria surrounding if you're going to lend it to me, the payment terms and all of that, right? Your risk appetite, everything. It's the same thing when it comes to lenders, whether you're a traditional lender like a bank or a CDFI. And so it's important to really understand what that lending appetite is and make sure you're matched with the right person. Now, as the landscape has continued to evolve and change, we as a firm specifically, and I can only speak for us, specifically have made some concessions and some changes with special purpose credit programs, right, that make the access to capital a bit more streamlined. Now, one thing to always remember is that, which I really appreciate this, is that there are regulations surrounding fair lending. So that it's not, okay, for you, I'm gonna give you this, but for you, I'm gonna give you something different. It has to be consistent across the board. And so even with staying within those fair lending guidelines, we're able to provide different options and opportunities to make the access to capital journey quicker. So it's intellectual capital, and then it's also the financial capital more streamlined.
Yeah, thank you so much for touching on that. All right, and now from our business perspective, this is for you, Michael. You're not just here for decoration. We want to hear from you from a business perspective. That's really because we're all business owners. We want to hear from somebody that's already experienced this. So from your perspective as a successful engineering firm, what has been your experiences in accessing capital?
So accessing capital, as I've grown as a business person, it started off getting my own, it's a journey. So the journey was get my own personal credit situation good, right? Because I tried business 3 times before I actually succeeded in one business. And I used to go to the bank and, I would ask the bank, hey, I need some money. How much you want? $100,000. Then they started, what's your credit score? Bad credit score. Let me see, where's your business plan at? I had one. What else? What you got for collateral, for this business loan? And, I say, well, I do have a home. Well, what's the equity in your house, right? So all these things, so I had to get my own personal credit score up. I'm in the 800s now. Consistently. But it was not always like that. There was a time where I even had to get my driver's license straight because it was suspended because I didn't pay tickets and stuff like that. So I had to get my personal stuff together. So once I got my personal stuff together, the way I went into business, I sold my house. And I earned over $100,000 for the house. And the way things came together, I could not have orchestrated it myself. It was God, it was through prayers and everything. So I took the money, the $100,000+ I brought a small business. I basically bought backlog, and I was managing that small business, and so here again, the first time I ever had any money over $100,000 in the bank, I used it all in my family, my kids told me, my wife started crying, you know, because they don't know if you're going to be successful or not. They don't know if you're going to make it, you know. And so, so the small business that I had, my first bank was Harris Bank, and it came with a small line of credit. I think my initial line of credit was like $50,000, right? And we worked on the business. I had to have personal guarantees. Personal guarantees means that if you don't pay that loan, they're gonna take your assets. They're gonna take all your assets. And your assets could be your home, your cars, all the money in your bank and everything. So, you know, you're operating, you know, you're putting your stuff out there. So, so we came from about $50,000 with a line of credit to $5 million today, right? And today we do not have to have a personal guarantee on it. That is really important. I was a witness to a bankruptcy. A business owned my business about $200,000, and they filed bankruptcy. And I got paid probably 10 cents on the dollar, but what I was witness of is that the bank, they didn't have no personal guarantees. And they refinanced themselves through another bank. The bank that owed them $30 million, they owed the bank $30 million. They walked away from it, $10 million, $20 million just wiped out. And they restructured, and you know, it came out looking great. And so I learned a lot just watching this bankruptcy. And so access to capital to me now is more than just a line of credit. Now it's about growing a company to scale and growing a company to be, we're at 200 people. Let's say, in my mind, I want 1,000 people. That's in my strategic plan. How are we going to get there? How are we going to go from 200 people to 1,000 people? And so I have all this outlined in what we call a strategic plan, right? And so now, where are we going to get the money from? Where are we going to get the human resources from? Where are we going to get the work from? And so the money part of it, now I'm looking at, we're talking about private equity. We're talking about angel investors. We're talking about venture capitalists. I'm selling stock. I added on 3 stockholders last year. So now we're talking about access to capital beyond a line of credit. And so Black businesses now, you know, we have, I mean, we start off with a history lesson here, right? So the history lesson, basically we got our ass kicked in Africa. They enslaved us. You know, just let's face the facts. We were enslaved, colonized, come to the United States, Middle Passage, slavery, Jim Crow, no access to capital. No bank will loan you a damn thing, right? To go into business or anything. So now we come from there to here. It is still very, very difficult to get money to scale a business, to even start a business. And so the challenges are still there. And, you know, I'm going to leave it at that because I'm going to say, I hope I answered your question.
You definitely did. Thank you so much for that. And that's what we have today, right? We're here to present all of the resources that are available because from my perspective, I come from a long line of family members that owned a lot of businesses. Unfortunately, they were not successful. One, because they just stayed within their network, which is why I emphasize the importance of stepping out your network, meeting new people, and they just didn't feel comfortable walking into the bank because nobody looked and sounded like them. And that's why we started this work that we do today, and that's why we partner up with amazing partners like the Chamber to be able to present all of these resources to our community members. One thing that stood out to me that you mentioned was personal credit.
Yeah.
How many of us as business owners think that it's just business credit? We don't think that. We do. It does affect our personal credit. It really honestly does. That's really where it starts. And I thank you for being vulnerable by even saying, I even had to take care of my parking tickets. Thank you for that, because it really is taking an honest look and seeing you have to start from scratch. You have to start from scratch. So I can't emphasize enough. I know I kicked off by saying, Joy and I do the same thing. But honestly, come see me to help you with your credit. I can't emphasize that enough. It's a free workshop that I host for the community to help you build your credit. The last thing I want is for you to be paying some Joe Schmo out in the street that says, hey, I'm gonna help you with your credit. I'm gonna tell you all the tips and tricks that it takes, and you don't have to pay somebody to go help you build your credit. It's a free service for you regardless of where you bank.
And
All right, so I can't emphasize that enough.
in relationships matters, I met Sherry tonight, right? Sherry says, Michael, you know, you can get up to $1 million from the city of New York, a line of credit for 3%. And that's
You're spoiling later.
Great job.
So just being here tonight, I'm going to have my CFO talk to her to see if, you know, if this is real, because I can always use another $1 million.
All right. I mean, we all can.
At 3% when.
At 3%, right?
So you know, it was just great showing up tonight.
Right, thank you so much for emphasizing that, and I can't emphasize it enough. Please attend events that we host, especially events that the chamber hosts, because they're bringing everything to the table. We're talking about access to capital today, but the chamber hosts events on all aspects, even marketing. So please attend and connect with chamber members today. All right, so we're not done yet. I can't leave you hanging. I definitely can't leave you hanging. As a community bank and proud neighbor, with a focus on urban communities, how does your approach to small business lending differ from larger institutions, and what unique challenges do you face?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And so Carver Federal Savings Bank has been serving the community since 1948. And a big part of the reason why the bank was started was because at that time, African Americans had a hard time just getting access to mainstream banking services, you know, opening up a checking account, savings account, getting a mortgage, loan for your business. And so we carry that forward into today. And 2 years ago, we actually launched our microloan program to provide access to capital to small businesses that had some challenges with credit. We wanted to look at other ways to remove some of the barriers, especially for African American business owners, because we know that credit is a big challenge, and that, you know, you have to make sure you have a good credit score in order to qualify for some of the business loans that are available. So for us, we wanted to kind of lower some of those barriers. And what we did was we said, we'll take credit scores as low as 600. But even more important than that, we actually were looking at other ways to evaluate the credit worthiness of our borrowers. So if you have a lease, are you paying your lease on time? You have vendors, you have suppliers, are you paying them on time? Do you have a relationship with Carver or within the community that we can actually attest to, which could measure your character? So those are some of the things that we started to explore, and we launched a program, and it's been successful. We've had a lot of good feedback in terms of small businesses being able to get access to anywhere between $5,000 and $50,000. But one of the things as a community bank that we actually have done a lot of, which, you know, a larger banking institution might not be able to do, is helping to prepare our clients to actually apply for our loan products. So a lot of hand-holding, a very high-touch approach to helping support small businesses, just so that they feel comfortable, number one. We really strive to build trust with them, to basically say, hey, here's a resource or service that you should take advantage of. So you gotta establish trust, especially in our communities. And then the other piece to it is, hey, you know, you mentioned that you're looking to borrow money for this. Did you think about, some of these other factors? So, do you have a plan? Do you have, a growth strategy? Because a lot of times some businesses may say, I need the money. And a lot of times I tell them, I say, it's not as hard to get access to the money, but you want to make sure that when you get the money that you use wisely, that you get a return from that money. Either you're hiring someone, you're purchasing inventory, you're moving to a larger location. You want to make sure that you're using that money so that you can grow your business. So those are some of the things that we do from that high touch, that personalized service approach. And that's pre-application. And then actually during the process, we continue to work really closely with the client to package them, to make sure they have all their financials, to make sure their projections make sense. We have situations where a lot of clients may be a little bit too optimistic with their projections and, maybe not aggressive enough when it comes to their expenses. So as a result, whenever they actually engage in a new product or service or new market, there may be some surprises. There's some expenses that they didn't incur or anticipate. And unfortunately, they may go over budget with a few different things and they're in the red. And we want to make sure our clients are getting access to capital, but at the same time, using it to the best of their ability to grow their business, to stabilize their operations and continue to take advantage of opportunities in the market. And we know that those businesses are going to hire locally. We know that those businesses are going to become community leaders and give back. And those are the businesses that we want to continue to help. And then the other thing is post-loan. So we also follow up with our clients just to check in on them and see how they're doing. Are you having any challenges? Can we connect you to other resources, such as small business services at, one of the centers or a free workshop. We do some of our own workshops as well, but we may be able to connect our clients to some other resources that will help them in some of the areas that they may need support. It could be legal, it could be marketing, it could be financial management, whatever those things may be. And we've even had situations where just through our follow-up, speaking with our clients, we found that they were getting into some challenges with cash flow management. And they asked if we could, do something about the loan, and we were able to modify the loan. So that may be difficult for larger institutions to do, but we're able to do that with our microloan program. And businesses today, and some of you can probably attest to it, we're not out of the woods yet. We just went through a pandemic, inflation, a tight labor market. You turn on the TV and you just see so much that's plaguing not only our nation, but our communities. And so it's still very challenging for small businesses in today's climate to be successful. And so one of the things we try to do is just provide access to capital, but at the same time be a trusted advisor, a trusted anchor in the community that they can turn to, whether at Carver we can help or we refer to Rocky or Joy or anyone, SBS. We want to be someone that our clients can turn to when they need help. We had a client in Brooklyn that was looking to take advantage of a large purchase order, and they were, having some challenges with being able to fill that. And so we reached out. We said, how can we help you? And sometimes we may come across a grant opportunity that we can share with our clients. We may be able to do some additional lending programs that they don't even know about. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure our businesses continue to grow and thrive, because we know that it will impact our communities positively. And when our communities thrive, we know that our entire country thrives. So it's something that we really pride ourselves on as well. In terms of challenges, we're a small bank, and so it's difficult sometimes for us to scale up a lot of the great things that we're doing in the community. But one of the things that we've been able to do is try to leverage partnerships. We can't do what we do by ourselves, so we leverage partnerships like with JPMorgan Chase, with Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce, and others in the community, because we feel that we can actually continue to help our businesses a lot more when we can leverage public-private partnerships, and really try to drive home how we can actually come together as a community to help our small businesses And so we look at ourselves as part of the ecosystem. And we know sometimes we can't do as much, but sometimes what we'll do is we'll reach out and we'll just try to leverage our partners in the community.
Oh, perfectly said. Really what emphasized with me was you weren't just helping them with the loan process, it's the follow after the loan, because you want to ensure that the community is successful. So can we give them a round of applause for that one? So that is amazing work for you to do, especially mentioning the modification that you're able to do depending on the size of the business, that's amazing. So thank you so much for that. And I know I want to be mindful of the time. So this is directed at Sherry and Joy. Many small businesses, particularly those owned by minorities and women, often face greater challenges in securing capital. What specific initiatives or programs do your organizations have in place to address these disparities?
Thanks, and thanks, Michael, for setting me up for this one earlier.
How about you?
So I want to touch on a few things. I'll try and be brief. The first is the contract financing loan fund that Michael was mentioning. So this program is specifically for businesses that are contracting with the city of New York, and the focus is specifically on minority and women-owned businesses. So one program that SBS as an agency runs is the whole certification process to become a certified MWBE, which your organization has gone through as well. It's not a requirement to qualify for this loan, but I definitely recommend going through it because there are procurement benefits to being MWBE certified. And what I mean by that, as an example, is access to opportunity to bid on contracts that your business could be able to fulfill. Which leads me to the contract financing loan program. And what this is essentially a 3% loan, which is very cheap. Just to put it in context, prime right now, which is a common kind of threshold to measure interest, is 8.5. Most banks will add on top of that, which, is a cost of doing business. Interest isn't a bad thing, but it's an expense. So when you hear 3%, look into it. So the program essentially, if you have a contract with a city agency, the loan program, it helps you start your contract. You have to pay your employees, right? You have to buy the equipment you need to deliver that contract. This program allows you to do so at a very cheap cost. So that's program number one. The second thing I want to talk about quickly is a deep dive into what I mentioned, our Business Solution Center down the road. One of the services they provide is actually one-on-one hand-holding. A lot of what was mentioned already, but also there's a million, potential options of capital that we all hear about every day. It's very challenging to navigate that world. Will help you do that. So help you understand, is a loan right for your business right now? Or do we want to direct you to maybe some free educational services and get you ready, work on your business plan, help work on your credit, other free services. If a loan is right now, let us help explore what are the different options. Is Chase the best option? Is it Carver? Is it another CDFI? We'll help you kind of navigate that process, which can be overwhelming. And one last thing is we also have a digital version of that. So if you want to come in person, great, we got you. If you want to do it from your couch, we have a platform called NYC Funds Finder, which basically just showcases a bunch of community lending opportunities and allows you to navigate it yourself if you want, or to make a quick click and get connected back to the Business Solution Center if you decide you want that assistance.
Thank you so much.
So I will, what I'll say is, and I'm gonna tell a story of a business owner that we worked with, but there's like this common thread I hope everyone's hearing. Oh, there's a couple of them, but one specifically is the power of your ecosystem, which is the third part of capital, which is social capital. And I think that that's one that we sort of talk around it, but we don't really talk about it. And so the social capital is very, very important. So there's a business owner that I had the pleasure of meeting because I'm not gonna say who it was, right? But they live in this community, they come here, and they had a relationship with somebody that is local to working here. And so because of that individual's social orbit, their social capital, she was able to bring together a whole team around this individual business to provide them the resources that they needed. So instantly, just because of that one relationship, her social capital instantly expanded. And so one of the things that we identified that she needed after going through like the coaching program that we do is access to capital. But there were specific places in which that capital needed to be deployed. And so we sort of needed to tease all of that out. And I know with some of the other programs that are available in the city, they do the same thing, right? So we teased all of that out, and then we went down the journey of, okay, now it's time to apply. And I love what Michael mentioned with the vulnerability. Initially, with this particular business owner, she didn't get the money, right? So she didn't get approved. And a lot of times that happens, but it's okay. That's why I love Michael's sample, because the thing is, if you're a business owner, 9 times out of 10, you've probably gotten a no before, right? Whether it's capital, a customer, whatever the case may be. But there's something in the fabric of who you are, that grit, that tenacity to not give up, that will make you go back, make some changes, and then come back and see if you can get it, what you need, right? And that really speaks to the power of that dream that you have. Is it strong enough and powerful enough to move you forward through the adversity? Which is one of the reasons why we're all here today, which a lot of people have alluded to, is being able to drive through all of that adversity, which I think is something that really speaks to the resiliency of our culture and our community. And so going back to this business owner, so several months went by, she actually did what we suggested, reapplied, and she was able to get the money that she needed, right? So let's give her a hand clap, right? And since then, not only has she been able to support her existing business, but also has expanded and has other businesses as well, which opened up opportunity because she got her certification with the MWBE, right, which is the Minority Women Business Enterprise Certification, which gives you access to not only contract opportunities potentially, but then also different funding opportunities as well. And so she continued to lean into the social capital, expand her network, lean into the intellectual capital, expanding that, and then gaining that financial capital. But it didn't all happen as nicely and as rosy as we might want it to every single time. But if you have that tenacity and perseverance, and you really lean into all these resources that everyone's talking about today, you'll definitely get to your end goal and your end result.
You have 4 amazing resources here. You have a room full of resources as well. You might think that you're in a point that you're just struggling, but like Mr. Williams pointed out earlier, you are your own hero. There's something that you offer up to somebody that you might not think is something that would be helpful. So please always share your stories with everybody as you connect with everybody. All right, so my last round. This one's for everybody. I know we kind of talked about it with Sherry and Joy. So I'll leave it to the gentleman for me. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs to improve their chances of securing capital? No pressure.
What would I give advice to people that want to secure capital? Again, people are at different stages, right? So I would say, a lot of things that you already hit upon right here, that, you want some money, you want capital to do whatever you want to do. And I would say you got to put together a presentation. You have to show the people that you're asking for money what you're going to do with the money, how you're going to make the money, and make a profit on it, and and how you're going to pay them back. That's really important because people want to be paid back, and banks are very conservative. And the federal government is very conservative. The SBA, and you got to learn. Like I had to learn from my bank I said, what is it that I need to do so that I don't have to have a personal guarantee for these loans? Because again, I saw through witnessing a bankruptcy that nobody ever wants to go through bankruptcy. You don't never want to do that. But in a crisis situation, it could be one of the best things that you ever done, especially if you don't have personal guarantees. So I would say, ask the questions, be curious. I ask my bank, I say, what is it that I have to do where I don't have to have no personal guarantees? One, show years of profitability. I say, well, I'm doing that. Let me see, the other one was, do you have any other partners, other owners? Because if you die or you become disabled as, the face of the company, what's going to happen to the company? So I said, okay, I'll get some other owners involved. So I have 6 owners involved now. I'm still the majority owner. And there was another criteria that I can't remember right now. It was profitability. It was, again, the collateral part is our, what we call it, our accounts receivables. And that type of stuff. And the bank don't want your accounts receivables. They don't even want your house. They just want their money back. That's what they want. They're not in the real estate business. They want their money back. And even myself, right? If I loan you some money and you're not a daughter or a son, I want my money back, right? And so I'm going to ask you, you got a job? How long you been working on the job? So knowing the criteria, and then say, okay, now that I know the criteria, I'm going to put this criteria, and then I'm going to come back to you. And if you deny me after you told me what I need to do, and now that I've done it, now I'm beginning to wonder what's the issue now? Is the issue, am I African American that you don't want to loan me the money? Do you have stereotypes? What's the issue now? And so the other thing, I'd like to give a plug in right now for Black banks. We need Black banks. We need to build our Black banks in our community. And we really need Black banks in our community. And let me be the first one. I bank with several banks, and I don't bank with a Black bank. I want to open an account with Carver Bank. Okay. It's so important that we support Black people, support Black businesses. Black people support Black banks and institutions. It's really, really, really important. If we're going to grow as a community, we got to learn how to support our own institutions. And the expectations from our institutions is that you give us your best every day. I mean, the way I started off in business, I don't even know how I got to where I'm at today. But every day that I came to work, I gave it my very best. And my best back then is not the best that I'm doing right now. But I gave it my best every day. So with that, I want to open an account at Carver. And I recommend that each of you, $100, $1,000, $500, open up an account at Carver. I'll give you another quick example. I just buried my brother, right? And there was, real fancy funeral homes in my neighborhood, but I chose the Black funeral home. And I went to the funeral home and I said, you know what? The way this funeral home is going to become fancy like that other funeral home, I gotta support it. It may not look the way I want it to look today, but if I don't support it, it ain't gonna never look that way. And so So I supported that funeral home, and they took care of us and all that type of stuff. But there was fancier, shinier ones, and all that type of stuff. But I say no, I'm supporting this Black because, like I say, when I started off in business, my first office, we had to raise the windows in the summertime for air conditioning. I had secondhand furniture. My first website, internet thing didn't work. You go through all these challenges, and sometimes you really wonder how you got here sometimes. But I'll leave it at that.
Well, I want to thank you, Michael, for just your declaration to support Carver and other institutions like Carver throughout the country. I would say about 20 years ago, there were a lot more Black banking institutions throughout the country. Now there's a third of us that exist. And so I echo his sentiments. I've been working at Carver. What we do every day is about impact. It's about making sure we are paying it forward. We had people that came before us that did so much to build up our communities. And so we have to run our race. We have to do our part. We have to fight the good fight. And so that people like Michael can be successful and build a business, not just to make a profit, but to create generational wealth that can be passed down to the next generation. And that's important. We need to celebrate leaders like him in the community, as opposed to just looking up to celebrities. He's a hero. And, one of the things that you may not know is that JP Morgan Chase is an investor in Carver Bank. And so, thank you. And so the funding that we've received goes into some of the programs that we have. And that's why we have such a strong partnership, because they didn't just say, let's partner, they actually put money behind supporting us as a banking institution. And so those partnerships, those investments are really important to allow us to do what we do in the community and allow our banking institution to remain in the community and thrive. And so, in terms of advice for small businesses, I always tell my clients, I say, you really want to be prepared. You want to know your numbers. So you want to have your tax returns, you want to have your profit and loss statements, your balance sheet. And if you don't know, if you're not comfortable with the financial side of the business, the New York City Business Solutions Centers, they can help you with that. There's a number of classes that you can take so you can get comfortable with that. But that's one of the things I always share. I say, be prepared. Michael mentioned it earlier, to have a plan, to have a business plan, an executive summary. And I tell people all the time, it doesn't have to be like 20 pages. It could be a one-pager. It's just that you have a strategy around how you're actually going to market your business, where you're going to get the resources from, what the costs are going to be, how you stack up against your competition, what your projections are, what your expenses are going to be. And, I try to demystify a lot of that because I never want to put up a barrier for a business. I say, I'll meet you where you are. Just if you don't have a business plan, let's just talk through it. And I'll help you create a business plan. I've literally done that for a number of my clients because I never want anyone to be discouraged. You never want someone's spirit to be broken because they feel like they're just doing this by themselves and they're stressed out and there's no one there to help them. We're here to help you. So wherever you are, don't feel ashamed if you know it, if you don't know it. I just try to establish trust and I try to help the clients where they are. And so, having that plan, even if you're an established business, and Michael will tell you, you still need to plan for growth, right? You need to plan for new markets. If you're opening up a new location, it's almost like, and I overheard him saying, it's almost like you're a new business all over again, like you're a startup. Even JP Morgan Chase, if they're opening up a new branch in a new neighborhood, they have to go through the same process. They have to have a budget, they have to have projections, they have to do their market analysis. And so those are some of the things that I like to share with my clients. And then the other thing too, and it was mentioned earlier, is your credit. just, you can get a free credit report, you don't have to spend any money on it. And just knowing what's there, where you stand. Is it a 700? Is it 800? Is it a 600? Because then when you go in to speak with your local banker, you'll know, hey, this is where I am, and they'll be able to help you accordingly. So that's also important as well. And then having a plan in terms of why you need the money. So I've had clients come to me and they say, hey, I want to borrow some money from your microloan program. Well, how much do you need? Well, how much can you give me? And I'm like, no, that's not the right answer. We're gonna have to talk about that, because I'll tell you, and I know in our community as well, we have to be very careful because there are predatory lenders out there, online lenders. They make the money easy for you to get, and they have these attractable features. But when you look at the fine print, you see that you might be paying 50%, 100%, 300% interest, and they got you. What happens is you get into cycle, and I've seen clients get into those cycles and they can't get out. Payday loans and things like that. So you want to be very careful, and you want to make sure you know all the details about what's out there. But we really try to do our best to provide, transparency to our clients in terms of what our products are, what we can do, what we can't do, and we just try our best to help them wherever they are. So I'll leave it there.
No, perfectly said. Thank you so much. I want to be mindful of everybody's time, but so thank you so much to the panelists. They will be here, so that way if we have any questions, Mr. Williams, I have to give you the mic, of course, if I can please.
Two quick things. One, please remember, it is not about what you know, it is who you know.
Yes.
Who you know. And just hold that for a minute. Emmett, hold that please. So it's who you know. And oftentimes we get stuck in titles. Okay? Let me just give you a quick example. Why do we do so many things we do with this branch? It's because of Rocky. Now, she doesn't know that. Her personality, okay? How she addresses things. You don't understand. You don't understand. When I speak to my people in the office, whether it's Michael or Winston or Barron or Emmett, they will say, what happened? I said, well, who did you speak to? And they say, we spoke to Rocky. And that gets it all over because of who you are. And let me close on this point. So many of us walk around with these titles. We think our name is Con Edison, and we think our name is AT&T, and all of that stuff. But when you're not working at Con Edison, who are you now? Okay? So I just say that to you because sometimes it's not said. And the people who came here, who sat through this whole thing, you better know who they are. You better know who they are. Okay? Because that's the person who's going to help you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Williams. Thank you so much. And I honestly, thank you so much to all of our panelists. Please round of applause for everybody. I hope everybody got some bits today, or a lot of information today. I know we gave you a lot, but one thing that really emphasized, and I'm gonna sound a little cheesy because I'm gonna emphasize, we're here to celebrate the journey. That's the theme of Harlem Week. And one thing that you emphasized was that journey, that process as a business owner. Another thing that everybody emphasized here is we have that oomph, we have that in us. One thing I mentioned during our last meeting was, as business owners, we as business owners provide solutions to the world's problems.
Yes.
Think about that, right? The things you create is for a problem that exists within the world. You're presenting that solution. So you should feel proud as a business owner. So thank you so much for taking the time today. And I can't emphasize how much I love working with the chamber team. I have to give my flowers to Mr. Winston Majed, Darren Carr, and I get to hand it off now with closing remarks to Dr. Michael Flanagan. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you again so much. Joy spoke about social capital, and we are about access to capital, financial capital, intellectual capital. But as we, certainly reinforced several times, and as Mr. Williams said, social capital is the key. It's really connecting to each other in a meaningful way. Not just say hi, but take the time to really find out how that person can be helped by you and how you can help that person. Again, I'm just going to close by saying thank you for being here. And if you take away one thing from what we said today, besides the financial information, make sure you take away Harlem's state of mind.
Right, yes, yes.
And I'm going to suggest to you, because this is a special year for Harlem Week, it's a 50th anniversary, take advantage of our special items that we have outside. We have special commemorative T-shirts, and we encourage you to get one of those. They're definitely collector's items. And we'll be out with more merchandise on 135th Street on Saturday and Sunday. And so we look forward to you celebrating with us this great journey. Thank you so much.